All right, you are listening to another episode of Transparency and Merit. My name's Joe. I'm here with Brian, and we're going to be discussing Nick Fuentes. What happened, and why are we to care about Nick Fuentes?
Well, you know what? I got a little bit of humble pie with his. I guess I tweeted something out. A gentleman who's running for Congress basically mentioned something about Nick Fuentes.
Okay, now who is Nick Fuentes? Before you tell us what happened on your YouTube or Twitter, who is this guy?
You know what? I'm reading his Wikipedia page, but that's just not true. He's never I've listened to him. He's somewhat of a provocative or controversial and inflammatory podcaster and YouTuber.
Host of America First, graduate of Boston University, a Zoomer. He's Afro-Latino, at least that's what this description is here. He's from Chicago. How did you come about Nicholas Fuentes?
You know, I've been listening to a few of his things, and I know that he has been disinvited by a lot of conservatives, Charlie Kirk, and now, as well as his followers. I believe Donald Trump Jr. has also basically stopped the question and answer period. And
I guess the groyper war is Ben Shapiro and Nick Fuentes, right? Is that?
Yeah, and those who are the, I don't want to say the rhinos, but any conservatives, or many of the mainstream conservatives, and the other, and I don't even want to call Nick Fuentes alt-right, because I don't want to misinterpret anything, because when I tweeted, I think it was a foolish tweet, and I got paid back dearly for that. So I don't want to make the same kind of foolish mistake that I made before. And boy, those guys came after me, which it doesn't really bother me. I didn't mind, but they told me to be quiet, boomer, and which I'm not. I'm close to a boomer, but I am actually Generation X. But basically, because I basically tweeted out, America fought both, Nazism and communism, and I got basically just blasted for that, because I think it was a little bit out of context, and but these people though basically think that we should have allied, that the Americans should have allied with Nazi Germany and fought the Russians. And that I do disagree with, but something, I believe in their right. Those who believe that, their right to say it, and their right not to be censored. And I don't know if that's Nick Fuentes' beliefs, but he is certainly being censored not only by the left, by the mainstream left, but also by the mainstream right. And I believe here on Transparency and Merit, we want to hear all voices and all points of view. And I don't mind saying that I'm a moderate. I'm a right-leaning moderate, but I certainly support the First Amendment, and I kind of don't like what's being done. And I called it Nick Fuentes and white guilt, because I think white guilt has metastasized itself, and I want to say the civil rights industrial complex has metastasized itself in just about all of our institutions, and this even includes conservative institutions with white guilt, because they don't want to seem racist. So they will do the left is being censorious, and also the right is also being censorious. And like I said, I think there's a lot of white guilt in the conservative movement, and it is kind of driving it, because we're trying to appease the conservatives are trying to appease the so-called minorities.
I think you're over modding your mic a little bit. Just go back a little bit from your mic.
All right. Let me finish. Okay. So I think that the conservatives are trying to kind of appease a bit to the so-called POSs are the so-called minorities, because they want a bigger tent. But I mean, what are they giving? I mean, what are they giving up? Are they giving up the reality? Are they going to stop talking about certain things? And are they going to stop talking about certain realities? I mean, I was listening to Nick Fuentes. God, I forget the show that he was on, but he was asking questions and making statements that, like, I don't know if I could really disagree with some of the points that he was making. And it's by nature. It's like, do whites in America and do whites in Europe, for that matter, do people, do the people who are native to Europe, do they have any self-interest of their own? And do they have the right to look out for their own self-interest? And should relationships be win-win? How much do whites have to give in? Because basically what a lot of white conservatives want is they want, I'm sorry, I'm kind of my nose, but they kind of want minorities, to adhere to their conservative principles. And I don't think that is necessarily going to happen. And it seems like the more you give in to a lot of the unreasonableness, it's the worse it's going to be for you. And I certainly could be wrong on this kind of thought, but it looks that way. And yeah, I mean, and that's about all I have to say on that. But it's like, it seems like conservatives have even picked up the white guilt mantle.
Well, I'm glad you're out there looking at all the new faces that are coming into the fray. I certainly had no idea who he was until you mentioned. I had no idea what a groyper was. I think I may have heard the term recently, but so it's interesting, and it's something that this guy looks like. Just take a look at. He looks like Alex P. Keaton. He looks super young, and. And he doesn't look Latino at all as well. And and like I said, I want to say that you can't get to real truth without true freedom of speech and real brutal honesty on all sides. And we're not at that point. We want to shut down debate. Conservatives want to prove that they're not racist, so they're trying to fight any views on the conservative side that have these kind of I would say, I don't want to use the term racial realist, but definitely that aren't part of the mainstream view of race relations. And the left doesn't care, and the left can certainly get away with things that the right could never get away with. And the left has to police its own. And it's like, why can't we have freedom of speech? Why can't we discuss these issues? And
the right is concerned about winning and losing an election, and I think they're afraid that if they lose the limited number of minorities that they have, that they will basically lose the election. And I don't know how true that is, but I'm thinking, what wrong would it? I mean, whites are still the majority in this country. What wrong would it be to say, what are these civil rights policies today? What good do they offer people of European descent or people that are white? What do we gain, and why should we accept it? And relationships should always be win-win, not I win, you lose. And if it's only to make me feel better, I think today, though, like I said, the civil rights industrial complex in the left is so vindictive and so mean that anything that goes against the norm, even a little bit, they will absolutely attack, and they will absolutely try to destroy. And this is having, in my opinion, devastating effects, and it's not good. And I've heard quite a few things that Nick Fuentes has said that I guess could be considered insensitive about the Holocaust or whatnot, but it's still the limiting of freedom of speech, not good. And it's been recent. And like I said, the mainstream media for a long time, they controlled.
That's interesting that information is part of his personal platform there. It seems like it's seems to be something that's trying to reach the mainstream. It's just such a hot button topic. It's amazing anybody goes anywhere near it.
And I mean, like I said, the fact that and he is people won't even mention him, and they'll, like I said, nobody will debate him. Mm-hmm. And it's like, guys, like I said, you ignore this kind of thing at your peril. You ignore the truth at your peril. And would you rather live in a real, would you rather live in a real society, in a real world, or in one that is, where it's fake and, where it's faked? I mean, the time for believing in Santa Claus is over. Because your parents are broke and Santa Claus doesn't exist. It's time to, this whole thing that we get along, and that everyone's, that people are, that different groups are all going to act the same is nonsense. And, like I said, we got to deal with real issues and reality. And you can't deal with reality unless we have freedom of speech.
That's right. Make sure you like and subscribe. Transparency and Merit. Go to our website, transparencyandmerit.com. And please open the conversation. Get into the comments section. Start the comments. Do you know who Nick Fuentes is? Have you heard him? And even still, what's the bigger argument here? Go ahead and dig in.
But let me also add, you cannot have transparency and merit without freedom of speech. And we accept all forms of freedom of speech and all forms of criticism. Whether we consider them valid or not, those are in the eye of the beholder. And like I said, I welcome your comments. And I think we're going to have, I'd like to have a call and open up our blog talk to have a more of a conversation on this. So, and Joe, that's about all I have to add on that. And I guess to remind people to like and subscribe. If you like what you hear and you think we're good fighters for freedom of speech, like and subscribe, and let's keep the dialogue going.